My name is Adele, and welcome to Youth Perspective.
Хэллоуин это от Youth Perspective.
Привет! Это пожаловать на Youth Perspective.
So, Amy, why modelling? Where did the interest come from?
Well, I've been modelling my whole life. So since I was 2 weeks old, I think, I had my first photo shoot. And since with a famous fashion photographer in South Africa. And since then, I've been working with him every year to show my progression as I've gotten older. And then I took a bit of a break when I hit my teen years and focused on schoolwork. And also I wasn't doing so well with modeling then because it's quite a niche field to get into. And it all depends on what photographers are looking for at the time. So I took a bit of a break and then recently got into it during lockdown. I joined a website called Prepperport, which is a UK-based model website where you get models, photographers, makeup artists, everyone in that field that connects them all. So during lockdown, I kind of set up my public figure. And after the major lockdown, I got into photo shoots and it really hit off then. So I've focused on it a lot more recently.
Okay, I noticed you said it was quite a niche industry. What were some of the challenges you faced in kind of getting in and getting gigs? Do you call them gigs?
It's often called castings. So
Castings, okay.
It all depends on what a photographer or director or anybody is looking for. So if you don't have a certain characteristic they're looking for, such as if you have blue eyes, but you don't have the right hair color or the right face shape or anything, you won't get a job because they have a specific idea in their head and you have to match it perfectly for them to want to work with you. So you just got to apply to as much as possible and see where you get lucky. I was fortunate enough to have photographers contact me. So I spent most of my time working with photographers I didn't have to find.
Okay, that's cool. Interesting. I didn't know that actually. So you mentioned photographers looking for different kinds of features. I guess you've been modeling all your life, so I can't ask this as a coming new to the industry, but what are some elements of modeling that have surprised you in the industry that you think people like me who know nothing in the industry wouldn't usually think about or think of?
Modeling is a lot harder than it looks. So a lot of people would think modeling is quite easy. All you do is stand for a picture, but it's hours of work. You'd be a full day working. It would take hours to do hair and makeup. And then you push yourself in ways you wouldn't normally push yourself to get a pose that no one else has done. You got to stand out. And because my main focus is fashion and fitness, I incorporate a lot of my dancing abilities into it. So it's a lot of action shots you have to do. So you'd end the day, you'd start in the morning, end at night, and you would be exhausted afterwards. So a lot of people would think modeling is the easiest job in the world, and people do nothing really, but it's exhausting.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realize there were transferable skills because I've never thought of something like dancing or gymnastics and modeling would go together. But now that you're saying that, it actually makes quite a bit of sense. So going back to niches and features then, modeling is, well, for me, I think about presenting yourself in some way or another. And one thing that's been pretty big about modeling recently, especially, is body image. So I was kind of wondering how that's cropped up for you in your experience and what you think of the way for women and as women body image is presented in the modeling industry.
Well, modeling is becoming a lot more inclusive. So it's including more races, different sizes. Everybody is allowed to model now, when originally it wasn't. You had to be tall and slim, and it was a specific type of person they were looking for. Where now if you're short, you can still model. If you are a bigger size than your average model, you are allowed to model because they're trying to appeal to a larger market of people. When they used to only appeal to people who had a perfect body, well, what would be called a perfect body. Now they will appeal to everybody. Anyone can model based on anything. If you have a gaps in your teeth, you can model because that is a specific thing that you identify with and it'll be great to see on camera. If you have larger ears, you can model anything that defines you will allow you to model. So anyone can model. I never really struggled with, I struggled with body image when I first started, but now that I've gotten used to it and seeing that anyone can do it, I don't really think of my body as it has to be a certain way to model.
It's interesting that you said it's kind of like the defining features of you that make you able to model. I guess I'm curious now, the arts and the arts industry have been attacked is the wrong word. They're not so favored by the government. I'm not sure if you were, but I think yesterday it was announced that 50% of the funds for arts courses and unis were going to be cut and such forth. And I don't know, is modeling an art? Is modeling part of the arts, do you think?
I would say it's part of the arts because it's often incorporated with a bunch of artists. So you can have artists who, like makeup artists, they will do your makeup, hairstylists. I recently did an avant-garde hair shoot, which I would say is an art because it's out there. It's not something you would normally see. It's not like in the lines. You explore your creative side. So I guess it's not really a favored industry because it goes against the traditional way of thinking and people think for themselves and they use their creative side. So there's no boxes in the arts.
Okay. And going on your theme about modeling being not so favorable because it kind of goes against sometimes society, what do you think the importance of modeling as an industry is for people our age?
If people realize that when they're younger, that modeling isn't such a, you have to be a certain person and it's only for designer brands and everything. Anyone can model for anything they want. Like photographers will work with you just because they enjoy taking photographs of people, not because they're doing it for someone else. They're just doing it as a hobby. I think our age, people need to realize that modeling can be a hobby and you can do it just because you love it. It's not necessarily this has to be your job. You can just do it because you enjoy having photographs taken of you or having people work on you or being posed or doing anything. As long as you enjoy it, you should be able to.
That's very cool. Very cool. I guess my last question for you then is, what advice would you have to somebody who's thinking of going into that industry?
I would say just do it. If you were bullied for a feature when you were younger, that feature will make you money. If every little aspect of you is important and it's beautiful, so you should show it off and let other people see it because anyone can model. It's not just for one group of people.
Inspirational words. I know I just said that was my last question, but something else popped into my head. How have you found the difference between modeling in South Africa and modeling in the UK? Like in terms of working with photographers in both places, what have been like some key differences you've noticed?
In the UK, it's a lot stricter on safety. So you would have more like in South Africa, you don't have like model release forms as much or have to have a chaperone if you're younger than 18. You could just do it all by yourself in South Africa. And also in South Africa, they look for a different type of person, that agencies and everything. They look for different types of people that look, I guess, more exotic than I would look. I would look more European than African. So they wouldn't really get me jobs. But in the UK, I'd get jobs because I have pale skin and blonde hair. And it all just depends on what photographers are looking for and what type of shoots you're trying to do.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's kind of more subjective to which part of the world that you're in.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you mentioned that you're you're on a website where you can link up with different people. Are there a lot of those around? Or like if I decided I wanted to become a model for some reason, which probably won't happen, but would it be quite easy for me to link up with a photographer or other people and get some advice? How does it all work?
Yeah, so Prep Report is really easy. They explain as you go through, and people on there are really friendly. And whoever admins it, they are very careful on if someone is exploiting models or anyone, they will remove them. So it's a really safe website, and you can connect with anybody. You can connect with designers, models, photographers, everybody in that industry that wants to work together. You can collaborate, you can do paid jobs. It's a very convenient website to get into modeling, and most models and photographers I've met have started on there.
Very interesting. Well, that is it.